everyone. Welcome back. How are we getting on?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. Jared, how are you getting on? You getting on
I'm doing
great?
good. I absolutely love Zoom because I can mirror my video and do all kinds of shit. I can turn myself this way, and I'm stuck apparently.
Yeah, you're completely. Oh, what? There you are.
Now
That's
I'm gone.
better.
Yeah, no, I love Zoom, but prefer Skype. So, Miles, you're also a podcaster. What do you use to record your podcast?
Most of the time, I use just an audio-only format, so people don't have to deal with this all the time. So I mostly just use Audacity, and that's just because it's free and I'm cheap as fuck. So it kind of fits.
We're the same. And what do you talk about in your podcast?
My podcast is just kind of a little of everything. When I came up with the idea, I wanted to be able to do something where I wasn't constrained by any one genre or any one topic. So that's basically the topic. It's whatever the fuck I want it to be. And usually the way it works is I'll have 4 segments, and 3 of them will just be, kind of funny shit or a game or something like that. And then one of them will be semi-lecture-y, maybe even a little bit in like educational or, informative, just depending on what it is. I did one about, I talked about Steven Seagal and how I don't like that guy. I did another one about...
We'll get into that.
Okay. Okay, there you go, right there. Just found something to talk about.
You're after pissing off Jared. Jared's massive Steven. He's got posters of him in his room.
Oh,
I
He has the custom made blankets of Steven Seagal's face. Like it's actually really creepy, man. Jared.
Those are my brothers. They're not mine.
And yeah, we share a bed, but so what?
Sure, every family has to do it. Like
every time, yeah. It's scary. I'm really sad you actually brought that up, man. It's you're in for like a hell of a ride now, man. Jared,
he's gonna dominate the conversation.
I swear, man. Jared's gonna. Oh shit, man.
Man, would you relax? No, tell us a bit about that because I actually don't know who the guy is.
Okay, all right. Well, there you go. So that'll be our first topic of the day, Steven Seagal. So when I talked about Steven Seagal, I kind of broke it down because he's been a busy guy. I talked about Steven Seagal like as an actor, as a movie star, as a martial artist, kind of as a spiritual leader of sorts. I don't know if he's still doing that, but he was for a while. And also like all the controversy surrounding him, all the shit he got caught up in, and finally his very short music career. I don't think he's still making music. He had 2 albums. They were both, pretty unremarkable. I don't know if you've heard either of them. One of them was Mojo Priest, and the other one was called something about the Crystal Cave, like songs from the Crystal Cave or something.
I'm a very lucky guy. I've had some great experiences in my life, and thankfully, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, it was.
That's one of my. Why am I called a fucking idiot over here?
I just found out. I just noticed.
Thanks,
it's been up for like 10 minutes.
Okay. No.
That's awesome.
No, unfortunate to have not heard about that.
Yeah, his music career really didn't take off like at all. I think he did a few live performances and people were like, the fuck was that?
Jared. What do you mean you haven't heard about it? You own all the albums. Come on, get off that shit, bro.
On vinyl?
Oh, it's mirrored.
No, Jared, we stop trying to hide your insecurities to find this mask of technical difficulties that aren't happening, bro. Now,
shut up.
Tell the fans how much you love Steven Seagal.
I genuinely don't know who this man is.
He's that dude from that, South Park episode where it's like, where he gets Butters to do all the comments for him and shit. That was funny.
That's right. He was on South Park. That's right. I forgot about that episode. That was awesome.
And then him and Cartman they did a song together about what was it? Oh, my something.
Oh, this guy.
My safe space. It was my safe space. That's what it was. Because all the people were making
my
cry.
Safe space. My safe.
That one part where they took Seagal to the fucking.
Yeah, what's the deal with him and Russia?
So apparently, him, that just happened recently. I think is he became, in some official capacity, like a spokesperson for Russia. I forget what it was specific. Yeah, it wasn't like a diplomat. It was a little bit better than a diplomat, but he does have dual citizenship, and I think he lives there now.
Oh.
Yeah. but he's been kind of on and off. I know he like used to hang out with Putin for a while because he did Aikido and then Putin did Judo, and that's like, oh, it's kind of the same thing-ish, kind of.
Fought to the
Quick
death.
question. You're from United States, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys allow dual citizenship?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, it's just with that particular case, with everything surrounding the previous election, you know, with Trump and the Russians and, you know, then Steven Seagal, he's always kind of been in and out of Russia, I think, because he used to go over for like Sambo demonstrations and stuff. They used to invite him to demonstrate at their conventions and their matches and stuff. And then now he comes out saying he has the dual citizenship, and now he's like essentially part of Russia in some official capacity. That's a little sketchy. So now that everybody's kind of on high alert about Russia, people are raising eyebrows.
George, do you know if Khabib has dual citizenship, or does he not have an American one?
I know he fights for an American gym.
That's what I mean. He trains with Daniel Cormier, right?
I mean, he probably has dual citizenship. It's not a bad idea for someone with his profession.
Yeah. He's a pretty good fighter. When I say pretty good, I mean like he's the GOAT.
Miles, do you follow UFC?
Every once in a while, you know, I'm a lifelong martial artist myself, and
I noticed the katana.
Yeah, that's my bullshit katana. That's cheap ass steel. I got a better one under the desk. For a while, I actually did MMA.
Oh, wow.
And
right on.
For me, the whole point of the martial arts for me was I was always a small kid growing up. Like I wasn't very strong at first. I was definitely smaller than everybody else. I was quiet. I was shy. So I was originally put into martial arts, kind of learn to defend myself if anybody gave me some shit. And over my lifetime, I've just been figuring out, you know, what's the best way to do that. So I started in, you know, what everybody starts in, like a karate class at the Y, you know, when I was 4. And then I did like some traditional karate stuff. I can barely remember because I was like 5. And then I did Taekwondo. I hated that bullshit. Even when I was 6, I was like, this is fucking stupid. So after that, when I was 8, I got into like Kempo, more traditional stuff. And then by the time I was in high school, I started looking into MMA. I started training with a few buddies that went to the more expensive gyms down here, because down here, they charge you at the ass to do MMA. Like I think one gym does $250 a month, and that's just for like one of the classes. So if you want the
$250
whole
to get my ass kicked.
Yeah,
fuck
exactly. Like, fuck that.
I do it for free.
Well, that's what I did. I just got one of my friends who already went there because their parents were loaded. I was like, okay, just do the things that they do in your class, and we'll just do them here. And there you go. I don't have to pay for it.
It's like staying one step ahead of, you know, like I open my own gym, I attend this gym, I learn, go back, teach my own class. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So that's basically what I did for a while. And then when I went to college, I went to 1 year in Texas A&M Corpus Christi, which is a lot cheaper out there because, like, I don't know, probably 50% of the town is a ghetto. So everything out there was a lot cheaper to do. So I did start to study more formal MMA. I took more formal jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, stuff like that. And I have something of a fight record. It's nothing like that matters because I wasn't in an amateur league. I just went to a couple of bars. And I like beat the shit out of some guys, and that's all that happened. And I'm not entirely sure it was legal. That's the other thing. That's why I don't count it as a fight record, because these just were like in the parking lot of some bar, and they were like, "All right, there's $50. Who wants it?" And then, you know, I was like, "Oh, fuck it, why not?" But I only did that twice. And the reason I got out of it is I found something, because again, the whole point for me was defending myself. And around that time, you know, the MMA crowd tends to run with the combatives crowd a lot of the time, which combatives is sort of like self-defense up on steroids. And that's where I met some of my first combatives instructors who were like former military, former police, former security. And that's really where I found my niche. And that's where I spent the last probably, 10 years. So that's really been where the most of my training has been, I think. Or at least most of the important training anyway.
Yeah.
That's... Bro, joking.
You're joking.
Yeah. I don't know what Thomas's experience is with martial arts, but I think I asked that question to the right guy right there.
There you go.
Normally we talk about martial arts a fair bit, especially with the UFC or boxing. And we normally get like, I did karate when I was like 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the answer we normally get, but we asked the right guy here.
There you go. There you go.
Or Keanu Lam, he was a great
he was great at it.
martial artist.
Yeah.
He is.
He was in Deadpool for the stuntman and all that. He was for like the
brilliant.
fight choreographer and everything. He was great.
Yeah, he was good.
You clearly then you're big into your martial arts and all that, and you probably have some knowledge of the greatest people in UFC and all. And there's a lot of debate around who's been the best fighter ever to come out of the UFC, or is the GOAT as they call it. And people have lots of different opinions about that. What would you say?
You know, that's a tough call to make because
I feel strong on this, by the way.
There's like, see, there's some fighters you could pick and just say like, oh, well, they got the best fight record. Or there's other fighters you could pick and say like, oh, well, they had to beat other fighters who were really, really good, right? And then this other fighter, he might have a better fight record, but that's full of people who weren't as good, right? So he wasn't as tested as hard. Or you could just say like, you know, oh, well, this guy was the most aggressive fighter, the strongest. But there's any number of things you could pick to say, well, that's the best fighter. And that's why it's so hard. I think the best I can do are, you know, the fighters that I thought were pretty good and why I thought they were good. So the first one I thought was pretty good. Probably from like a technical standpoint, that's a tough one because even in the UFC, there's a ton of guys who are not very technical. Like if you look at McGregor, he's very strong. He's a great athlete. He does have some skills, but he's not as technical as the other fighters because even he himself says like, well, I don't get that much formal training. I think he said he had never actually like put on a Jiu Jitsu gi and like gone into a Jiu Jitsu school before. He was just kind of figuring shit out, which is fine. That's, you know, sometimes that's what you got to do, but you know, that's going to lead to you not being as technically proficient as someone who has like a black belt in Jiu Jitsu, right? There's just a difference there. But I think Anderson Silva was pretty good. I think he had a huge advantage because he was just a super tall, long dude. And in MMA, getting past range can be a pretty hard thing. Like that can be a real fucking pain in the ass, especially with his size. But not only that, he could move though. Like he could, you know, dodge. He had quick strikes. I think he was, I don't know if he was a karu in Muay Thai, but he was pretty good. His jiu-jitsu wasn't bad either. I think he was a Brazilian, so all their jiu-jitsu is usually pretty fucking good. Another guy that I really liked was, I like GSP. I know there was like some controversy around him, but he was pretty good. Most of the guys who come out of Kyokushin are usually pretty good just because that is one of the very few full contact traditional martial arts left out there. Because like when I was coming up through the traditional martial arts, when I was looking around at the other people around me in my town who would study it, like, oh, they go to the Taekwondo place over there, and oh, they go to the fucking Cook Soul One bullshit over there. The only reason that I was slightly better is because I had a coach that was like, his whole attitude was, we're just going to kick the shit out of you until you don't mind anymore. But that was the only one who was doing it, you know? But that's exactly what they do in Kyokushin. Like, it's pretty much full contact when they spar. You just can't punch in the face. But everything else is fair game. And so you see a lot of those guys in the UFC, like Lyoto Machida is another one. Everybody always points to Lyoto Machida and be like, see, karate works. But it's just... he's I think he's Japanese?
I'll pull it up. Normally Thomas can pull these things up as we talk. But it's really weird normally.
I'll up the pictures. But he was another one who was pretty popular.
Say his name again?
For a while. Lyoto Machida.
What do you think of Tenshin, the boxer? Do you ever hear Tenshin? He's the dude that fought. He was like 32-0, and then he thought he could take on Floyd.
Oh well.
And then was knocked out in the first.
Yep. That's the thing about Floyd Mayweather. I don't know. Do you guys know who Charlie Zolanoff is?
Charlie Zolanoff.
No.
So he's this guy on YouTube. He's the funniest thing I've seen in a while.
Is he the guy who like fought Mayweather Senior?
Senior, that's the guy.
That guy is such an idiot. And Deontay Wilder.
I've seen this.
Yes,
Deontay Wilder kicked the shit out of him.
He just gets his ass handed to him by everyone.
And he like sucker punched Mayweather Senior and got.
Oh yeah, and then Mayweather Senior kicked the shit out of him. Like, he just beat the fuck out of him. But the best part is like this guy, fucking Charlie Zolanoff. He, for some reason, always thinks he wins. Like, there was one where, you know, every time he talked, he's like, oh, I beat Andre the Giant. And it's just some dude named Andre from a gym. He was like, I don't know, 6'2", and he's probably a solid 270, 280. So he's a big dude, but he's not like a giant. But
first time I seen this guy, it was like a bully gets
his
like,
ass handed to him. That's most of the videos. Because in that video where he's talking about Andre the Giant, you see them boxing, right? And for the most part, Charlie's getting some jabs in there. He's not really getting anything big because this other guy, he actually used to box. He was a professional boxer. And so he's just kind of moving with him. He's retired now. He's an older guy. And he's being nice to him at first. And then I think it's the last 10 seconds, he just goes off on Charlie, just kicks the shit out of him, throws him out of the ring. He hits him so hard, this fucker falls out of the ring. And then you see Charlie the next day on his video, he's like, yeah, I pretty much just destroyed him. I got in 50 out of 50 jabs. And yeah, that's why I win. Because that's how they do boxing matches, right? Is who got the most jabs in. But anyway, oh yeah, so with Charlie Zornoff, when you look at Mayweather Senior, and he's in his 70s, and he can still kick the shit out of this guy, that's pretty good. So I mean, when he trained his kid, and his kid is in a little past his prime, but he's still good. It's kind of hard to beat someone who's had that good of a coach for that long.
Definitely.
There's a reason he's had the title for so long, Definitely knows what he's doing.
I'm just thinking, are you looking forward to the Tyson fight? Are you going to be watching that?
Oh, I did hear he's coming out of retirement. I wasn't sure how that was going to go because I'm like, I mean, he's a big dude. He's strong. He's got a proven record. But age catches us all, Like, you just can't live with us. You can't do anything about that. So,
have you seen the video of him training?
No, I haven't seen it yet. Who's he carded to fight?
Roy Jones Jr.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, he has multiple.
If Tyson loses, I don't think he'll be able to sleep at night.
I don't think he'll be able to. I think he'll stop if he loses, because I think he's planning to fight loads. He wants to fight like Shannon Briggs and Vladimir Klitschko and all these people that would have been a little bit after his time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
All the people he would have fought if he didn't get fucking suspended.
I mean, boxing and MMA are really, really weird. Like, I don't know why they're not the same thing.
I mean, stylistically.
Like, what? Like, I understand there's karate tournaments, there's boxing tournaments, there's kickboxing tournaments, Jiu Jitsu tournaments, but I don't know how what they can both exist at the same time and be so famous. Because why restrict yourself to only using your upper body?
Yeah, so I think it's more like a traditional thing. Like, it comes from tradition more than practicality, because obviously if you have the option to do all the things, you're like, well, fuck, I'm going to do all the things, right? If I can throw and I can choke and I can punch and kick, that's way better than just punching, right?
Yeah.
From what I understand, boxing is just more of an older tradition, kind of like with the Greeks. They would use wrestling as a way of proving their strength and their prowess and shit like that. And it was if you could wrestle really, really well, then you must be a very strong, capable guy. And I think that was the same thing with boxing, right? Like, if you could just punch someone to death and if, started throwing kicks, you're like, what a pussy. He has to use his feet. He's not good enough to just use his hands and win, I think as the chimes have evolved and we got guys like, Bruce Lee coming on and saying no, you can do all the things. It's fine. And fucking who cares? It works better that way. And then eventually people are like, well, you should just study one thing your whole life, get really good at that thing, and then just do that. And then you got Bruce Lee kicking the shit out of those people. And they're like, well, it's still Japanese. So I don't know if that's really a victory. But then eventually people started coming around and being like, oh yeah, that is better. I'd like being able to punch someone and throw them and kick them and then use my elbows on them. That works really, really well. And it's interesting because we're starting to almost revert back a little bit. I don't know if you guys have noticed the kind of the upswing in popularity for bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
Half-Boar versus
Ireland
Eddie Hall.
has had a large history with bare knuckle boxing.
Isn't Half-Boar Johnson versus Eddie Hall the two strongest dudes alive? They're going to be having a bare knuckle fight.
Oh shit. This is going to be pretty good. The thing I hear about bare knuckle boxing is actually it's safer because you take fewer hits before you go down. So in the long term, you have less closed head injury. You get more surface damage, little cuts and shit, but that heals quickly. Versus a caved in skull, that's gonna take a while.
Yeah, that makes sense actually. Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah, it's what a weird world we live in. Yeah. I say often that the heavyweight division in the UFC is the closest there is to gladiators.
It'd be interesting if they actually, because I mean, they did have
it's two guys bulk as much as they can and go crazy.
There was a thing in Russia, I think, because they have Sambo a lot there. Sambo's huge over there, and it's kind of like UFC, but they do have slightly different variations on the rules because there's like 3 different Sambo leagues, and they all do a thing, but they're not quite UFC. But they did do a thing where it was like, it was basically MMA, it was team-based, it was no holds barred, and it was in an actual like arena. So like you would see these guys, and they'd start off on like a platform, and then they would come out into the little arena, and there's like obstacles fucking everywhere, and you could like grab the dude and like smash him into this like wall or whatever was around you. Like it was an actual like that. I saw, I was like, damn, if they just did that one-on-one, that would be one step short of just giving them swords and shit and being like, all right, fight it out. Like, is this when you could like throw people off of shit? You can ram them into stuff. It was crazy, but they did in like teams of 4, so it was just fucking chaos. But,
Oh, it's crazy. But sure, it's what's going on, and people pay to see it.
oh yeah,
Definitely.
I'm sure, yeah, of course they should.
Thomas, what martial arts have you done before?
Martial arts have I done before?
Yeah.
I did kickboxing for a bit when I was younger, and then I stopped. I'd love to get back into it. It'd be awesome to get back into it.
Did your class do it in TY? We went back into kickboxing.
Yeah, we did. No, we did self. Jared, I was in your class. Thanks, but
Oh shit.
no, but yeah, no. I did kickboxing for a bit, and I got to not really high belt. I was either I think it was brown belt, and then I don't know. I started something. Not brown belt.
Are you sure brown belt?
No,
Because that's a
probably not
second
right.
highest.
Yeah, no.
I was gonna say
it's definitely not brown belt.
I've yet to find a kickboxing gym that has like ranks.
Really?
Yeah, well, not here anyway.
Oh, we do it. We do it here. Definitely.
Interesting.
I got to my
I didn't know
purple
that.
belt with a brown tip, so
No shit.
just short of the brown belt.
Interesting, because over here typically that's a traditional martial arts thing. Like you got to go to a karate or some variety of like Okinawan or Japanese martial art. Because usually kickboxing here is like it's closer to Muay Thai, where you just go and you just train every day, and your reputation is really built more up on like how many fights you win and stuff like that.
Well,
Versus
part of the grading system was you had kata, whatever that means. You had your jiu-jitsu as well, and then you did kickboxing. But when you were practicing kickboxing, you only did kickboxing. You didn't do jiu-jitsu of any kind.
Oh, was it like a mixed gym? Because kata comes from specifically traditional martial arts. You don't have that at all in like
It could have
kickboxing.
been MMA, because those guys have like loads. I know they do kickboxing, and they're in all the kickboxing tournaments. They have like loads of awards and shit, and they're like pretty fucking good.
Interesting.
Like a group of them. There's like 3 brothers, and they all have like different gyms, all kind of in the same area.
Oh, no shit.
I mean, we had to get one of them on, as he does jiu-jitsu. I don't know if he still does it because of quarantine, like. But
yeah, that's like the worst one to do during quarantine too.
Yeah.
Like
you're so up and personal with someone.
Yeah.
And then Jay does the kickboxing. I know he's been like a champion a couple of times.
And Colin does it as well.
But there is one thing that I don't like about kickboxing scoring. It's not really about like hitting your opponent. It's about tapping off them really fast.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They have a section for it called eye contact, where it's basically you keep going until the round's over, and they'll score it at the end like a boxing match.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So when I used to train in Corpus Christi, I went to it was a gym that was actually more for like, the guy was a Seoul Olympics Taekwondo winner, but he would rent the space out to like all kinds of people. So that's where I got Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai. I also did like Arnis, Kali, Krav Maga, did a bunch of shit there. And because I had a lot more experience than even a lot of his black belts, like I would go just to the sparring thing. I didn't want to learn their fucking bullshit forms. I just wanted to fight them. So that's what I did. I went and did their sparring classes, and I was a lot better than a lot of the black belts, just because they only use their legs. I could use both my hands, my feet, my legs, my elbows. I could do all the things. They could do the one of the things. So I was like, well, it's not really fair. But he actually had me go to a tournament and be a judge. And I'd never done this type of scoring before. It was super weird. You sit in the corner, and there's 3 other judges. It's you in one corner, and they're in the other 2. And then in the third corner is the ref, and he just makes sure things don't get too crazy. And you have 2 little clickers. One of them's red, one of them's green, and then you got your fighters with the red pads and the green pads, and then you just start clicking buttons every time you see a point. And they never stop the match. It's like probably 3 minutes of continuous fighting. They get a break. and then like another minute or two, and you're just clicking buttons the whole time, and then the system tallies it up for you. So by the end of it, they just look at the scoreboard and they're like, okay, blue is the winner, or green's the winner, just depending on how many button clicks, because it syncs up. Like I think if it's like 2 or more button clicks happen at the same time, that's a point. So you're just sitting there clicking buttons the whole time. I thought that was super weird, but I don't know, maybe it's a similar idea with what you guys are doing.
It'll be pretty similar. What I seen, and from my own experience, was you had the judge. He kind of wandered around like in UFC. He's trying not to get hit by the fighters. So the fighters are doing their best to like psych each other out, and then 1 point is if you hit them. If you kick them, it's still 1 point, but if it's in the head, it's 2 points.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty sure on that. There's weird things like if you did like a cartwheel kick, you got like 3 or 4 points, but no one ever risked it.
Well, yeah, no, that's a terrible idea.
I heard of people who've done it.
Yeah.
Like you do it if you're like top of the tier and you're fighting someone bottom of the tier.
Sure.
Just to show you can do it. But I thought the scoring was a bit weird. Now I could be a little bit off with those, but hope to get back into it, and then I can talk more on it.
There you go. Always good to be training. Always a
little bit of experience with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and was doing it. Friends were doing it too. Friends gave up. I gave up. And the week before I gave up, I bought a gi, and then I sold it because I never used it. And then like here we are in quarantine. I'm like, I really want to fucking do it.
Hindsight's 2020, right? Shit. See, I've done probably about, I'd say 2 years of like on and off jiu-jitsu training, just because it's always hard to find good jiu-jitsu, and it's always hard to find, here in the States anyway, jiu-jitsu that's not just completely ridiculously priced. Because when you're going in, the thing about ground fighting is even if you have previous experience with like stand-up fighting, you still don't know what you're getting. You may as well have no training at all when you're going into something like ground fighting when you don't have experience, because you can't look at one gym and go, oh, that gym's clearly better than this other gym, because you don't know. You don't have the background to be able to tell a good jiu-jitsu gym from a bad one. And over here, they're all like, I think the lowest one I found was, I did find one gym that I trained at for a while. That was $100 a month, and you could go every morning at 5 a.m. And that was the schedule. But yeah, everybody else was like 250, 180. So, I mean, you really had to do a lot of research. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's still a crapshoot even then. So fortunately, when I was in Corpus Christi, I got a little bit of background there. I spent a year of actually like training under somebody. And then the rest of my 4 years of college, I was in College Station, and a lot of the shit out there is just terrible. But I did find a guy who is a fighter in the MMA circuit and the amateur circuit down there. And I would do jiu-jitsu with him for the rest of the 4 years I was there. And then after that, now that I'm back, I was doing jiu-jitsu at one school, the 5 a.m. school, for a few months before quarantine hit. And then I was like, fuck. Now I'm just hoping they survive, because that's the thing. These gyms are not going to survive this. What has it been, like 5-6 months of no income, no new students?
Yeah, that's rough.
Super rough, yeah.
It's pretty shit.
I know some businesses in town, are like in our town, are not doing very well at the moment thanks to COVID.
Yeah, we've got some small businesses closing down. We had one, it was a restaurant I really liked, that closed, so that sucked.
A lot of pubs are closing. They just have to.
Oh, yeah, because I mean, here they tried to reopen the bars, but that only lasted a week. So, like, probably all my favorite bars are going to be gone by the time this is all over.
Proper shit, man.
I know the pubs felt like they were being attacked personally when they weren't allowed to have people smoking in there, like maybe 10, 20 years ago.
Loads of years ago, longer. Jesus. Yeah.
And, they were annoyed at that. But this as well, like just complete closure for 6 months. And then when they were allowed back for a while, they're given kind of crazy rules that they had to follow.
Yeah.
So, kind of rough for them. They must feel very hard done by. It's hard to have a pub in Ireland.
I'm just after seeing here, there wasn't, they're not allowed, you're not allowed more than 50 people in one, like, you're not allowed groups of 50 of anywhere. And there was a massive anti-mask protest today. in like
Really?
Dublin.
Jesus.
We had one in Griffith Street, and
annoying.
it numbered in like the 50s,
Oh, so
if
annoying.
even.
There's
And then
so
this
many
one
people
was
there
just
today.
insane.
What the fuck?
Like
'Cause I
that is
know-
such a fuck you to the health workers and just.
You know, I got
Yeah.
very little respect for anyone not wearing a mask. You know, I got one right on me. Wear your mask, save a life.
There you go. There you go. I got mine in the car. That way, whenever I leave, it's just ready to go. But no, we have the same problem out here. Like it's weird. Half of the U.S. is on board, and they're like, "Let's do this. Let's fucking, do the quarantine, put the masks on, whatever we need to do to stamp this thing out." And then the other half of the U.S. is like, "No, fuck that. I don't want to cover my face." And then that's the best argument they got, and that's unfortunately where I'm
Yeah,
at.
I
was-
can't breathe.
That was
And then,
a really good
it's
impression, bro.
ridiculous.
Honest to God, nice one. Because
Yeah.
that's how they all sound.
Yeah, no, I walk outside. I'm like, "Oh, there's another one." Like, fucking, I don't want to cover my face.
You guys, have we stopped America coming in now, Jared, or they're still coming in?
I wouldn't say anything honest, to be honest, because I'm not too sure.
Yeah, man.
Probably should. You probably should. Because, I mean, it's
For a while, you guys weren't allowed in, and no offense, I completely agree with it.
Yeah, no.
You
I
guys
get
had it worse than anywhere else at the time. We were numbering in the tens,
You still got it bad,
if
don't you?
even. But
For
you
sure,
know.
man. And if you think about it, Trump now is going to be remembered as the president who left the World Health Organization during a fucking pandemic. Like that's that guy's legacy right there.
Yeah.
But to be fair, they were not very consistent. Don't wear a mask. Wear a mask. Wait, don't wear a mask. It doesn't travel through person to person. Actually, hold on, it does.
Yeah, it does.
It dies on direct contact with sunlight, but don't talk about that.
Yeah.
It's like for
World's in a bit of a
asymptomatic people don't spread it. They spread it like wildfire. No,
Yeah.
actually, they don't spread it. Like,
Yeah.
tell us.
No, I remember they were all over the place, but I don't think Trump left for the right reasons, though. I think, honestly, considering his constituency, I think he was just getting pressure from certain groups to just be like, oh, I don't want to do the thing. I don't like quarantine. I don't like wearing the mask. I don't want to do any of that stuff. And then Trump's like, all right, let's not. Like, I think that's his whole reasoning for leaving, because that seems to be really
Well, they were also taking money from China.
That too. I mean, we're pretty bad about that. Historically, we're not good with taking money from China. We keep doing it, even though we shouldn't. But
it's bad.
Are.
Like the country where it came from, taking money off them and not telling the truth for a period of time, like that's pretty budgy. Like, if as a world leader, you got to consider,
yeah,
what's going on there? Do we listen to this now, or what do we do? Now, there are a lot of things that come out of there that are just a fact. Wear your fucking mask.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
But at the time, it wasn't as clear cut as it is now.
Sure.
Man, it's very easy to just to crap on world leaders. Like, even in Ireland, we do it a lot. But the job they have to do right now, it's rough. Like, you train to be a politician if you do train in your country. You're not learning about dealing with a global pandemic because it hadn't happened in 100 years.
Yeah, we don't really do that here. It's a little different. So for politicians, it's more like you can get a political science degree, kind of, but it's not training. All it is just kind of learning about the political system and, just the bare bones minimum. I had a buddy who got a degree in political science. And then after that, it's all about networking and essentially to become a high-ranking politician, like meeting the right people, because those are the people who will get you into those seats, who will get you, campaign dollars, who will get you, behind the right lobbies and all that. So it's not quite as intensive. It sounds like over there they actually have to prepare for shit, and that way when they get the job, they're they know how to do the job. No,
our minister for higher education, that's for colleges and PLCs and internships and all that kind of stuff. He didn't graduate. Doesn't have a college degree. He has the same level of education as me and Jared right here, who haven't been to college.
So it's not that different then. No, it's not. Okay. Everybody's fine.
And he was the health minister during this at one point. We've had two agricultural ministers in the last.
Our Taoiseach did a great job at the start.
Yeah.
Well, actually, all throughout, Leo Varadkar, great guy. During the pandemic, he's a doctor as well. But the new guy,
Mihal.
Michal Martin.
Not good.
Not doing the best, but he's.
I'm still not a fan of Leo. I'm not a fan of any of them, to be honest.
Well, you have to pick and choose like the good moments.
You
Like,
could.
Do you know anything about the agricultural minister who just got pulled for going to a dinner?
Nothing
No,
about
not
that.
you. Sorry, for Thomas.
I don't know anything about that.
Not really, no.
He could have been the best ag minister we ever had, but it's never going to go away that he attended the dinner during quarantine.
Of 80 people,
So-
Jared. He helped write up the rules. And then,
Then didn't listen to him. No, that's stupid.
it is stupid.
But imagine we weren't in quarantine. Like, you went to dinner. Fire him.
Yeah, but you know what? Anyway, you've been a great guest, Miles. Thanks for getting on, buddy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Finish up, though. You've been a great guy to have a conversation with. Thank you so much. Especially with your knowledge of martial arts. So if people want to follow you and they want to check out your stuff, where can they find you?
Let's see. The podcast is up all sorts of places. I think I've got probably like 8 or 9 platforms. So just go wherever you find your podcasts, and I'm probably there. I think the biggest ones for me right now are let's see, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify seem to be the biggest listens. So I'm definitely there. Anywhere else, probably. I'm on Twitter. I'm actually usually using my Twitter. I set up an Instagram, but I don't use it for anything. And I have a Facebook where I just post whenever I, upload a new episode, but that's about it. I'm not super involved on Facebook either. Twitter's really the best place. I also have an email account for like people sending me mail and shit. It's laughsandrecpod@gmail.com.
Have you had that happen yet?
A couple of times, yeah, actually.
That's cool.
It's interesting. I didn't think it was going to work as well, but I was like, fuck it, may as well. Because I had to have one to set up Twitter anyway, so I was like, well, 2 birds. But yeah, it actually has paid off a little bit. And besides that, yeah, I think that's like all the stuffs right there. Yeah, that's all I got.
Awesome.
All right, so if you want to check him out, you know where to find him. And thanks for listening. Take it handy.
Good luck.
All right.
Awesome.